What was once speculated to be a simple cash grab from a nostalgic set of 80s movies surprised everybody with a lovable cast of characters, humorous and fun writing, and a captivating story that draws you in almost immediately. Let's dive into one of the most successful revived stories in film history. This is the Cobra Kai Iceberg. The Sacred Vaults. During the original Karate Kid shoot, the late director John G. Avildsen had shot hours of tournament footage from different angles, most of which was not used before. The crew behind the Cobra Kai show was aware of this fact, and they eventually went to the old studio vault and looked for these specific scenes. Fortunately, they recovered a lot of never-before-seen clips and angles, which were then able to be used in the series through flashback scenes. One of them includes Zabka's real-life mother, who was in the stands and visible in some of the different angles, unseen until 2018. As for the iconic crane kick, at least 3 unseen angles of that kick exist in the found footage. Video games. The Karate Kid movies back in the day had 2 games, which were based on the first and second movies specifically. Thus, it was only natural that Cobra Kai received a video game adaptation as well, which is called Cobra Kai: The Karate Kid Saga Continues. The game was released on the PS4, Xbox One, PC, and Switch platforms. It was met with average reviews and had to be developed remotely from the houses of employees due to the pandemic. There's an even less successful game based on the show as well called Cobra Kai Card Fighter, which was released on the iOS and Android mobile platforms. As the name implies, it's a collectible card game. The limited success of these games is not surprising, since the show has its own audience and is not very mainstream. That and the fact that the games just aren't that good. There is an interesting story about the console video game, however, as the creative director and executive producer of the game had not watched the show until he had got the opportunity to pitch a Cobra Kai game. Then he wanted to watch a few episodes to get into the right headspace for the game, and he liked the show so much that he ended up binging almost all of it immediately. And the team watched episodes so many times afterwards that they got attached to some of the side characters, which is why they have more screen time in the game compared to the show. The Miyagi-verse. Cobra Kai takes place in what the creators call the Miyagi-verse, which means that any fictional character that has interacted with the iconic Mr. Miyagi is part of this same universe, which includes all of the characters of the original movies, the TV show itself, and the movie focusing on Julie Pierce that spun off from the original trilogy. Going with that logic, the Jackie Chan and Jaden Smith starring The Karate Kid movie is not canon to the Miyagi-verse, as it served as a remake of the original movie rather than a sequel or a spin-off. Real-life illness. In the second season of Cobra Kai, Johnny briefly reunites with his fellow Cobra Kai members, minus Dutch. They party with their friend Tommy, who is dying from cancer in the show, which was certainly a heartfelt moment. Tommy eventually dies and ends up in the body bag, and it seems to be a reference to the infamous quote from the final match between Danny and Johnny in The Karate Kid.
Get him a body bag! Yeah!
Unfortunately, the actor who plays Tommy, Rob Garrison, died from kidney failure in September 2019, which was just a few months after his appearance in Season 2 of the show. Archived. Although the series has tons of original cast members coming back, no matter how old they are today, there are many who are only present through archival footage from the film series, which serve as flashbacks. These actors are mainly Pat Morita as Mr. Miyagi, Chad McQueen as Dutch, Israel Juwerbe as Freddy Fernandez, Danny Kamekona as Seto Taguchi, Nobu McCarthy as Yuki, Robin Lively as Jessica Andrews, and Sean Cannon as Mike Barnes. Be careful what you wish for. This saying happens to Johnny not once but twice. At first, he wishes he could have a dojo full of students, but all that does is bring him nerds and losers who can hardly fight. Then he wishes to turn them into badass fighters, and this happens at the cost of them becoming arrogant jerks that remind him of himself from the past. And not only this, but John Kreese comes back in his life as a result of this too, which is more stress than he could have hoped for. It's a hilarious irony of life and something that fans point out often. Technologically impaired. At the beginning of the third episode of Season 2, Johnny gets an old Dell laptop with Windows XP. First of all, it's amazing nostalgia in a show that is already about the glory days of old. However, every time he opens a new application or presses the start button, the laptop emits a beeping sound. This sound is in fact not something that real computers make, and it's simply just a random sound design error. But it's possible that it's more of a reference than an error, as the aforementioned beeping sounds are in fact sampled from the popular strategy game Command & Conquer. TMNT vs. Cobra Kai. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is no stranger to crossovers, and the Turtles have even met Batman in one of their comics. However, what you normally wouldn't expect to see is a collection of action figures called the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles vs. Cobra Kai. It features a set of 4 action figures that come in pairs, with an opponent for each of them picked officially by the manufacturer. Donatello is going up against Johnny Lawrence, Michelangelo is fighting Daniel LaRusso, Raphael is fighting John Kreese, and Leonardo is fighting Miguel Diaz. There was also a collaboration with the Loot Company, through which boxes contain different types of apparel and merchandise related to the show, and several Cobra Kai skins have made an appearance in the popular game Fortnite as well. Frenemies. In the Karate Kid movie and even Cobra Kai, Johnny Lawrence and Daniel LaRusso were fierce rivals, especially because of how much of a bully Johnny was in his youth. However, in real life, the actors who portray the two characters, Ralph Macchio and William Zabka, had become friends right after the original Karate Kid movie was completed and became a success. Their friendship became even stronger in 2005, according to Ralph Macchio, who says it was after the actor who portrayed Mr. Miyagi unfortunately passed away. YouTube Premium. Cobra Kai was initially picked up by YouTube Originals and was meant to be watched by their premium users. Despite YouTube Premium not being that successful of a service in general, Cobra Kai found great success on the network. Eventually, it caught Netflix's attention and they purchased the rights of the series in 2020, which included the unaired Season 3 as well. As soon as the show went to Netflix, it found tremendous success and even remained on the top 10 most watched shows for quite some time after the new season came out. Continuity error. In the 8th episode of Season 2, Sam's birthday is established as October 14th, 2002, which can be seen when Daniel goes through a scrapbook that points out Sam's first birthday took place on that date of 2003. However, that would make her 14 in the first episode of Season 1, but in Season 6, when Daniel tries to get Sam to spar with him, the dialogue establishes her as 16 when she says, 8 years ago, I was 8. This would make her birthday as 2001, and it does make more sense if Sam was 15 in Season 1, because she'd be too young to have a learner's permit otherwise, since she agrees to take Yasmin to school in Episode 2. Daniel saves the day. In the 3rd episode of Season 1, Daniel busts down the door when he finds Kyler taking Sam into a classroom. He tries to warn Sam that Kyler is a bad person, but Sam ignores his warning and leaves in anger because he broke his promise of not embarrassing her. But on the other hand, it is heavily implied that Kyler was planning to have sex with Sam at any cost, which means forcing it was even being considered in his mind. Firstly, Kyler texted Sam that he will give her something big at the school dance, and Johnny had already told him that Kyler and his gang was picking on teens half his size. Then furthermore, there is dialogue with Kyler later where Brooke says, "You had her in the palm of your dick." And finally, there's the fact that Kyler does end up groping Sam in a dark movie theater in the next episode. So, many people believe that Daniel did in fact save Sam from assault. brother-zoned in real life. Xolo, who played Miguel, revealed in an interview that before the staff filmed his kiss with his co-star Mary Mouser, who plays Samantha, Mouser told him that she prefers to not kiss someone for the first time on camera, and it would be better if they kissed before the scene has to be filmed to get rid of any heebie-jeebies. Mouser felt nervous and popped breath mints, but when he was about to kiss her, Mouser whispered, "Xolo, I'm nervous. You are like a brother to me." This, of course, made things very awkward for Xolo, and frankly, it's far worse than having to kiss on camera for the first time. In contrast to this, Xolo did end up briefly dating Hannah Keppel during the production of Season 2, who plays the role of Moon. Fall from Grace. In Cobra Kai, Johnny lives in Reseda Heights apartments. Both the apartment complex and its location are very similar to Daniel LaRusso's apartment complex in the first Karate Kid movie. Even the paint and coloring on the lettering is similar. So Johnny's apartment is meant to resemble Daniel's apartment on purpose. The reason behind this is to show how far Johnny has fallen from grace, since being poor was one of the reasons for which Daniel faced discrimination in the past, whereas Johnny was from a better part of LA in the original movie. Daniel is the real villain. The story of the original Karate Kid was fairly straightforward. A poor kid called Daniel moves into a new neighborhood and is bullied by a jerk and his friends for trying to fit into their community. However, many fans jokingly and even seriously believe that the true antagonist of the movie was in fact Daniel and not Johnny. And this theory is further strengthened by a video essay on YouTube by J. Matthew Turner. So, how is Daniel the villain? Well, as soon as Daniel moves in, he tries to make a move on Johnny's ex, who Johnny is still trying to reconcile with. Then Johnny doesn't immediately attack Daniel at all, yet Daniel, on the other hand, keeps trying to pick a fight with him, and even attacks one of his friends later on, after he interrupts him when he's playing soccer. This theory was eventually picked up on Cobra Kai, as it shows that Johnny really did feel this way about everything that happened, and blames Daniel for instigating the problems. The show is not black and white, and the hero is basically dependent on everyone's personal perspectives. With all that being said, this might just be a case of overreading into an old movie that was simply about fighting bullies. It's just that the characters were written so well that we all fell for them. Originally a movie. According to the creators of the show, Cobra Kai was originally going to be a feature film. However, throughout early production, they changed their mind and made it a TV show instead, because an episodical format allows for longer stories to be told. Plus, wanting to show different perspectives of the characters was an important point of Cobra Kai, and a single movie would not allow them to do that in such a short runtime. Better late than never. Actor Thomas Ian Griffith, who played the role of Terry Silver in the Karate Kid films, refused several offers to reprise his role in Cobra Kai, saying that he has retired from acting. However, once the filming of Season 4 was completed, it was finally revealed by Griffith himself that he is indeed returning to Terry Silver in the 4th season of the show, which delighted fans worldwide. This is funny in contrast to the fact that Elizabeth Shue was another actor that the crew wanted for the show, but hadn't approached yet for the role of Allie. But Elizabeth ended up approaching the creators of the show first, surprising them. Mistaken for a cash grab. When Cobra Kai was announced for the first time, fans of the original Karate Kid series assumed that the show was going to be yet another unnecessary Hollywood revival of a beloved and long-dead franchise. This became worse when people learned that it's going to premiere on YouTube Red, rather than one of the bigger networks like Hulu or Netflix. And as if that wasn't enough, the actor of Terry Silver believed that any show based on the show in the present series would be a disaster. However, fans changed their mind when it turned out to be a very well-written show that has a good balance of nostalgia and originality, and it ended up becoming popular right away. And the same thing happened with Thomas's opinion as well, as he watched the pilot episode with his wife on YouTube and was blown away by how good it was. Incredible creative freedom. The showrunners of Cobra Kai let actors have a lot of creative input in the stories of their original characters, especially in terms of how the lives of those characters changed after the events of the original films. For example, most of Johnny's backstory, such as having an abusive family and considering Kreese a father figure, was in fact created by William Zabka himself. And then we have Martin Kove, who similarly developed the idea that Kreese was a war veteran with PTSD who was driven to cruelty by his experiences, and this backstory was eventually integrated into the show. Furthermore, Tamlin Tomita worked with the creators of the show to provide a more accurate depiction of Okinawa, and Yuji Akamoto offered suggestions about Chozen's character development too after being cast in the role. All of these ideas were integrated into the show in one way or another, which pleased both fans and the actors alike. Unhappy with Part 3. Ralph Macchio revealed in an interview that he was unhappy with The Karate Kid 3 because the writing of the film was inconsistent, especially when it came to the characterization of Daniel. It felt like repeating the same story too many times, and Ralph did not embrace several of the character-related things in the movie that the script was having him do. Thus, he was very happy when he saw how the showrunners of Season 4 handled the story aspects of Karate Kid Part 3, and expanded upon the backstory in a way that the inconsistencies within how certain characters acted was justified. He especially liked how Terry Silver's story was handled when the character finally came back, and believes that it's much better than what they had in the original film. Changes in the Season 3 finale. In the final episode of the third season of Cobra Kai, there is a massive fight that breaks out. It was originally meant to happen inside the Miyagi-Do dojo, with rain dropping down from the sky. However, due to scheduling conflicts and weather-related issues, this fight was moved into the LaRusso house. The creators liked this outcome, as it made the fight edgier and it became a home invasion of sorts. And this helped the writers, giving them more things to work with in the fourth season, since a home invasion means the police can take action as well. Van Damme's seal of approval. Jean-Claude Van Damme is referenced several times in Cobra Kai, and the third episode of Season 2 includes footage of one of his most popular films, Bloodsport. It came as a surprise one day that Van Damme actually likes the show, and he took to social media to express his appreciation for it, saying that it's one of his favorite shows. And he credited The Karate Kid and his own movie Bloodsport for introducing the beauty and philosophy of martial arts to a whole new audience. As soon as this happened, fans started demanding for him to show up in the role, which would be awesome to see.
Like this video, and subscribe to Maker.